and put that image back on the screen just one more time. I know people have stared at it, but you can see, even though there's no reservations available for Blue Bayou at all. I mean, I'm sure if you were to have gone to the park today and seen this view, it would have told you that no reservations were available if you try to book them, right? But you can see clearly empty tables. And this was something I brought up. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think now that, especially for diehard Disney guests, know now what is entailed? Do you think that would open up reservations because nobody actually wants to go while the ride is not operational?
It's absolutely possible. But if they know in advance, and I don't think a lot of guests do. I think a lot of guests are tuned out to the daily operations of Disneyland and may not know until they get there. So I will agree with you. That might happen. In terms of the percentages, I gotta believe that 90% of the people coming here do not know that this is part of.
And I think that's probably why that they don't put in that disclaimer.
Oh, yeah,
because
absolutely.
they know what would happen.
Oh, absolutely, sure. But you see empty tables here, and yes, one can point to the fact that there are walls there, and maybe people dropped out, and maybe they couldn't saturate the restaurant to its maximum extent as a result of that. But honestly, what I'm hearing internally, what I'm hearing from guests on the ground, from cast members, what they're saying is that cast is still a problem at the Disneyland Resort. They cannot get enough bartenders and servers to maximize the capacity of these experiences, like the Blue Bayou, like Cafe Orleans, like the Cove Bar. The Cove Bar was interesting about that is, earlier, it was, I believe it was maybe the last week or the week before, it was closed for like days at a time because they didn't have bartenders and restaurant staff to actually facilitate it. I mean, that's how dire this kind of situation is. And when you speak to waitresses or bartenders, at maybe the tiki room, the Trader Sam's, right, or Cafe Orleans or Blue Bayou, they'll say that service has been slow because they've had to restrict how many people can actually make reservations in accordance with their staff. And even though that staff might be capable of facilitating more tables and more drink service, they can't because Ops is setting those numbers low in order to try to ensure a better experience. But it's
and not to step on anybody's toes or try to be a little careful of how I put this, but do you feel that this could be issues still connected with from the Pandy and the shutdown, and do you also feel that this could actually potentially be because of what's going on internally in the company itself right now with cast members?
Oh boy. Obviously this still has residual effects from the events of 2020, right? I think it would be, when they had that big cast member purge and
they had two. They had two like separate where they furloughed how many cast members, and then they did another wave.
Right. Well, also too, let's not, I know we haven't really mentioned it on this show, but remember there is also a vaccination mandate. Now, people have their thoughts on vaccination. That's fine. I'm not going to get into them here, obviously, but there are some people. But
that could potentially play into that sequence of why there's not as many cast members as we're used to seeing in the parks.
Exactly. And that might speak to, maybe cast members, early retiring as a result. And this does affect operations because there are, and the polling suggests in average American, like 20% of people might not get the vaccine for one reason or another. And if you're going to have that mandate, that might affect casting levels. And so you've got kind of waves of these kind of purges and let's not forget too that people who cast members who are actually working at the parks, because they're short staffed, more of the load, and yield management of course, but more of the load is going to have to be placed on the people who are actually working that day. Right, I think we've all kind of experienced this in our daily lives as these part of these residual effects of 2020. That when somebody doesn't show up to work, you got to take that. You got to make up for that loss of output. And so cast members are getting burnt out as a result of that, because that happens over and over and over again. It's I'm sorry for the show to be so negative. I usually want it to be positive and interesting, but
it's more so. And here's the thing, though. But it's a lot of information that needs to be put out there, because again, for anyone who would watch this show and may consider, wanting to book a reservation at the Blue Bayou, now they know what they're faced up against and not get the shock of their life once they walk into that restaurant.